Before I owned my own salon, I used to work for a place called Haircuttery. If you don't know what that is, it's like the Walmart of getting your hair cut. I won't bash them too hard, but it's like the worst place you can get a haircut. Well, anyway, when I was still there, we had to hand out these $9.99 haircut coupons all around the community. Corporate was running a sale, and they sent thousands of these coupons to our location. So every morning for a week when we came in, we had to go all around town and hand out these coupons. I would go to the businesses next door, the grocery store, gas stations, everywhere, until I handed out all my coupons. And as you could imagine, this coupon brought us in a lot of business. For the next week, we were absolutely swamped in our haircuttery. I'm talking lines out the door because of this $9.99 haircut coupon. Well, all of the stylists were exhausted. And it was one customer after another, and the lines never seemed to be getting smaller. I finished up one of my customers and was cleaning off my station and chair for the next person in line to sit down. Normally, how this would work was my manager would direct the flow of traffic to whatever stylist was available next, which was me. However, when my manager came up to me, she said this next guy was purposely waiting for me to give him a haircut. He had been in line for a while and could have already went to several other stylists, but decided to wait longer for me. I didn't really care about this as I was starving and tired and just wanted to go home and get my day over with. The guy's name was Ed. He sat down in my chair and I put the cape around him. If I had to guess, he was in his mid-40s with very thin dark hair and a bald spot at the crown of his head. I finished him up in 10 minutes and wrung him out. He didn't leave a tip for me, which kind of ticked me off, but whatever. I still had a whole line of people to service. Not even a week later, this Ed guy comes back into haircuttery. The coupon promo had ended by now, so we had slowed down a bit. But he came right in and asked to see me specifically for another haircut. This was odd to me, as I had just given him one the week before, and he had such little hair. It took me 2 minutes, and I barely did anything to him, as his hair had not grown. I wrung him out and was handing him his change. When he grabbed it, he also grabbed my hand. He pulled me in a bit and asked if he could take me out for a seafood dinner. I had to politely decline, but I could tell he was pissed off at my rejection. In the following days, things got weird. Ed would come into the salon and purposely leave his jacket so that he had an excuse to talk to me. He even sent me a big thing of flowers with a love note attached to it. The other girls in the salon thought it was funny, but I thought it was creepy, as this man was more than half my age. On a Friday night, I was covering the late shift for one of the girls who was on vacation. I hate the closing shifts, but my manager forced me to cover, as I'm considered the most responsible employee she has. It was a slow Friday night, and I was able to lock up at 9 p.m. on the dot. I shut off all the lights and started walking to my car. That's when I saw there was one other car parked in the lot with me. I thought the car was empty, but then I saw a figure pop up from behind the wheel, as if they had been ducking down. I walked faster to my car when this other car door opened. I saw that it was Ed getting out, and he was walking right to me. I tried to get inside mine as fast as I could, but he was too quick and stood in front of my door. I was very uncomfortable, as we were the only two people in the parking lot, with almost no light outside. He folded his arms and asked me why I keep rejecting him. I made up some excuse for being busy and seeing someone else. All he did was shake his head. I tried to push past him, but he stood his ground. He demanded that I give him a chance to show me how good of a guy he was. At this point, I flat out just said no, I'm not interested and never will be. I tried to push past him, but that's when he grabbed my wrists. He grabbed them so hard, I thought he was going to break them. I yelled out in pain for him to let go. He called me a dumb whore and started to pull me away. I lost my balance and fell to the ground, spilling out my bag. My scissors also fell out. And at this point, I was literally being dragged on the ground and being pulled to his car. I quickly grabbed the scissors and just stabbed at anything I could hit. I was able to stab him in the thigh, and huge amounts of blood started to gush. Ed screamed out in pain and pulled the scissors out. When he did, he started to bleed even more. That was my only chance, and I ran to my car and sped off. When I was on the main road, I was able to call the police. And I found out, when they arrived, officers found him unconscious in a pool of his own blood. He was rushed over to the hospital, and apparently he recovered. But had I not called, Ed probably would have died from all the blood loss. Call me evil or whatever, but sometimes I regret calling them, and should have just left him there to die in his own misery. Shortly after that, I quit haircuttery and opened up my own salon. It was in a few towns over, so if Ed is still out there, I don't think he knows where I'm at. But as a precaution, my salon door always stays locked, and I will manually let my customers in and out. I just can't take any chances. Just be careful out there, everyone. Crazy people are everywhere. I've been working at a small hair salon for about 2 years now. It's not a glamorous job, but I like it. The people are friendly, the tips are decent, and it's close to home. We get our fair share of regulars, but one day, this old man walked in who I'd never seen before. He was in his late 60s, maybe early 70s, with a hunched back and thinning white hair. He did not have an appointment, but he wasn't there for a haircut. He came up to me as I was doing a client's hair and said, "Excuse me, would it be alright if I collected the hair from the floor?" I was very taken aback. It wasn't something I'd ever been asked before. I looked at my coworker, Linda, who just shrugged. It was weird, but he seemed harmless enough, so I said, "Sure, I guess." He smiled. His teeth were yellowed and uneven, and thanked me before pulling out a small plastic bag from his coat pocket. He started picking up the bits of hair that had fallen to the ground. And it was bizarre, watching this old man on his hands and knees gathering up tufts of hair, but he wasn't bothering anyone, so we let him be. The next day, he showed up again, and the day after that. This continued for over a week. Each time, he'd come in, greet us politely, and ask if he could collect the hair. We always just said yes because, honestly, we didn't know what else to do. Eventually, curiosity got the better of me. One afternoon, as he was finishing up, I asked him, "Why do you collect the hair?" He looked at me with this eerie smile and said, "I make dolls." This answer sent a chill down my spine. I did not know what to say, so I just nodded and let him finish. As soon as he left, I told Linda what he said. She was shocked and said that was creepy as hell. She asked if we should tell anybody about this. "Tell them what?" I said. "There's technically nothing illegal about collecting hair. But still, the whole thing made me feel uneasy. I started to feel anxious whenever I saw him walk through the front doors, but I never said anything to him. I figured he was just an odd, lonely old man. Then, one day, he did not come in. I noticed it right away, and I felt a weird mix of relief and worry. A few more days passed without any sign of him coming in. About a week later, I was scrolling through Facebook when a news article caught my eye. The headline read, "Local man arrested for conspiracy to kidnap." I clicked on it, and there was his picture, the old man who had been collecting the hair. My heart started pounding as I read the article. He had been planning to kidnap a little girl from a nearby town, but the police had caught him before he could go through with it. They found all kinds of disturbing things in his house, including several homemade dolls with real human hair. I could not believe what I was reading. That creepy old man had been making dolls with the hair from our salon. Hair from me, from Linda, from our clients. I felt sick to my stomach. That night, I had trouble sleeping, and every time I closed my eyes, I saw his face and that awful smile. Around 3 a.m., I finally drifted off, only to be jolted awake by a loud knock at my front door. My heart was racing as I got out of bed. I grabbed my phone and crept to the door, peering through the peephole. No one was there, but something was sitting on my porch. I hesitated before opening the door, and when I did, my blood ran cold. There, on my porch, was a doll. It was small, about the size of a baby, and crudely made. Its body was stuffed with what looked like rags, and its face was drawn on with a black marker. But the hair, it was real. Dark curly hair, the same color as mine. I backed away, my hand shaking. I slammed the door shut and locked it, my heart pounding so hard I thought it might burst. I did not sleep at all that night, and the next day, I called in sick to work. I never saw that old man again, and I can't explain how that doll ended up on my front porch. Like, it had to be one of his dolls, right? But if that was true, how the hell did it get to me? The old man was in jail. To say that I've become paranoid would be an understatement. I threw that doll away, and I've had my head on a swivel ever since. I've been a hairstylist for over 10 years, and I've seen my fair share of strange things. But what I'm about to tell you is the most tragic and disturbing thing that's happened. About a year ago, it was late, maybe around 9:30 p.m. The shop officially closes at 9, but I always stay behind to clean up and get everything ready for the next day. That night was particularly slow, so I wasn't expecting anyone to walk in that late. But then, the door opened, and this guy walks in. He looked to be in his mid-30s, average build, but there was something off about him. His clothes were rumpled, and he had this tired, almost defeated look on his face. He didn't say anything at first, just kind of hovered by the door like he wasn't sure if he wanted to come in or not. "Can I help you?" I asked him, trying to sound cheerful despite the weird vibe. He looked up at me, his eyes dark and hollow. "Just a simple cut, something neat." I hesitated for a second, but nodded and told him to have a seat. There was something unsettling about him, but I figured he was just having a rough day. And who am I to judge, right? So I went to grab my scissors, but they weren't on my station where I usually keep them. I started looking around, thinking I might have misplaced them. That's when I noticed he was holding them. Sir, I'm going to need those," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. He did not hand them over right away. Instead, he looked at me with this weird intensity and asked, "Are there any cameras in here?" This chilled me. I wasn't sure what to say, but I decided it was best to tell the truth. "Yeah, there are," I said. He nodded, almost like he was relieved. "Good," he muttered, more to himself than to me. "Then the world can see this," he said. Before I could react, he took the scissors and jammed them into his neck. I froze. I could not believe what I was seeing. Blood started pouring out, soaking his shirt and dripping onto the floor. But the worst part, the part that still haunts me, was the smile that spread across his face. It was wide, almost euphoric. "It's so beautiful," I heard him whisper, his voice gurgling as blood filled his throat. And then, just like that, he collapsed onto the floor, the life draining out of him, still with that smile on his face. I did not move for what felt like an eternity. My brain couldn't catch up with what just happened. Eventually, I grabbed my phone and called 911, my hands shaking so badly I could barely press the buttons. The paramedics arrived quickly, but it was too late. He was gone. They tried to ask me questions, but I could barely speak. I just kept seeing that smile, hearing his last words echo in my mind. The police came too, asking more questions, and all I could do was tell them exactly what happened. I don't know who he was. I would check the news all day, but but nothing came up about him. No missing persons reports, no identification. It's like he was a ghost, someone who just walked in off the street to die in my chair. I keep thinking about what he said before he did it. What was so beautiful? Was it the act itself? The fact that it was on camera? I don't know, and I'm sure I don't want to. The trauma has been so great on me that most nights I have trouble sleeping. I keep seeing his face, that smile, and I can't get rid of the feeling that he knew something I didn't. Something I don't want to know. I requested to work at another location as I refuse to step foot in that salon ever again. And to whoever you were, I hope you're at peace.